Chapter 7, 1967 to 1972. The band reaches maturity. The Sports Writers Show. In 1967, the band circulated a survey to numerous sports writers in Southern California with the intent of designing a halftime show that would please members of the press. Sousaphone player Bill Eadie recalled the purpose of the show, stating, "As head of the band's publicity crew from 1965 to 1968, I had the job of promoting the band at a time when many thought that halftime shows were at best passé." Charles Maker had even written an opinion piece calling for the elimination of band shows. Over the summer, the publicity crew sent a questionnaire to area sports writers asking what kind of halftime shows they would like to see. The questionnaire was well received by writers in the area. Some even included their responses in their columns. Chuck Thomas of the Ventura County Star-Free Press wrote, "The UCLA band must figure if they can get a halftime show, us jaded, old, sports writers will watch, anybody will watch it, and I wouldn't argue with that." As writers completed the surveys, the band studied the replies and designed a halftime show around their recommendations. The show consisted of experimentation in style, sound, and sight, and band members formed a Dixieland band and group of singers for the show, which was performed at the Cal game on October 14, 1967. Musically, the show consisted of band music that was popular at the time, featuring The Circus on Parade, Thoroughly Modern Millie, Mersey Dotes and Dozy Dotes, and Little Lambsy Divey, Three Little Fishes, The Girl from Ipanema, and Up, Up, and Away. The show was such a success that TV Guide referenced the performance. More importantly, as Eadie noted, the calls for the elimination of the band stopped after that. Andy Williams performs with band Discover America Show, 1967. At the USC game in November 1967, the band performed a show entitled Discover America. Acclaimed singer Andy Williams was present to sing America the Beautiful during the pregame show. Featuring formations such as the Liberty Bell, a riverboat, a cacti, and an outline of the United States, the band performed Yankee Doodle, Way Down Yonder in New Orleans, Daybreak by Ferdy Groffé, The Stars and Stripes Forever, and Discover America by John Kakavas. By 1968, the band had begun using props such as flags, balloons, smoke bombs, and bright cloth to supplement halftime shows, as evident in the Discover America show. The band's Academy Awards appearance in 1969. On April 14, 1969, the band performed at the 41st Academy Awards, becoming the first college band to do so. While the varsity band had just made a nationally televised appearance at the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament Championship game in Louisville, the Solid Gold Sound was about to reach another massive audience at its performance at the 41st Academy Awards, as it was the first Academy Awards program broadcast internationally. In early 1969, the director of the 41st Academy Awards, Gower Champion, called Kelly James with the idea of having a marching band accompany a dancer while marching to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which was nominated for Best Original Song. James agreed to the idea and met with Champion several times over the next few weeks to discuss the logistics of the performance, which also featured dancer Paula Kelly. After Lar Best drew up an arrangement of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, rehearsals began for the upcoming performance. As the band scheduled rehearsals in early March, the majority of band members were away from campus. Not only had spring break just begun, but the varsity band was also away traveling with the basketball team for the NCAA tournament. Kelly James had been in an automobile accident shortly after the varsity band returned, and Clarence Sawhill was ill as well. With only 3 weeks left until the performance, John Hayes, assistant to the director of bands, did his best to ensure the band would be ready for one of its most important performances. Rehearsals consisted of learning the drill and music for the show. To ensure the band was prepared for its performance, it replicated the pillars through which it would march during the routine at Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. On the day before the Academy Awards, a Sunday afternoon, there was a final dress rehearsal at Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. After a run-through of the performance for Gower Champion and Paula Kelly joined the band, adding her own dance routine. Afterwards, Champion and Paula Kelly discussed the performance. The band's hard work and discipline in its rehearsals had paid off. John Hayes recalled Gower Champion being particularly impressed with the band. The part that I always found interesting was Champion had allotted 2 hours there, and he also thought that he may not like the sound of our band playing the thing, so he had it all arranged for the pit orchestra to play it. And at the end of 2 times through, which was about 20 minutes, he was kind of laughing, saying it was just perfect. You have no idea how much money we're wasting over here the next hour and a half, with all the camera crews and the musicians there. Everybody was just on a free break because they didn't have to rehearse anymore. The band again arrived at Dorothy Chandler Pavilion the following night for the awards show. John Hayes was overjoyed at the band's performance. I was just happy it went so well, that's all. Because it could have, they get really nervous at these big shows. Band member Carl Johnson wrote the following recollection of this event. I entered UCLA as a freshman in the fall of 1968. I played baritone horn in the marching band and was fortunate enough to get into the wind ensemble, sitting first chair. We were informed that the marching band had been invited to perform one of the Oscar-nominated songs at the 41st Annual Academy Awards presentation. That was the good news. The bad news was that due to limited stage space, the band would have to be reduced in size. The reduction was based on some combination of seniority, musicianship, dedication, and instrumental balance. The band members allowed to participate was posted, and I, although was overjoyed to see I had been selected, I was disappointed to see one of my best friends, Dennis Behringer, who also played baritone horn, was not. Due to circumstances I do not dearly recall, the band was 1 sousaphone short, needing an even number for symmetry, I imagine. I volunteered to play the part, as this freed up a baritone horn opening, allowing Dennis to fill the spot. The result was that we were both able to have the thrill of a lifetime. The legendary Gower Champion was producer, director, choreographer for the show. We rehearsed in the gym, where the floor was marked to the size of the stage at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. I can still picture Champion during breaks, doing stretches and toe touches. The dancer in him always staying limber. His unexpected death in 1980 at the age of 61 was a shock I still remember. Paula Kelly, an African-American dancer who had debuted on Broadway 5 years earlier, but who was making her first television appearance with us, joined the band. Of course, it might be more accurate to say we joined her. It was listed as Paula Kelly and Friends in the program. We were named at the end of the acknowledgments on the last page of the program, and F. Kelly James was named under Arrangers and Orchestrators. The segment consisted of our marching on stage, playing the Kelly James arrangement of the title song to the film Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and having Paula Kelly dance among us. It was a delight to work with her and to see her career blossom in film and on television over the next several years. April 14, 1969, the day of the program, finally arrived, and we set off on our bus to downtown Los Angeles for a dress rehearsal before the live show that evening. Henry Mancini was the music director, and there were multiple presenters. We were fortunate enough to have Sidney Poitier introduce us. While we were waiting backstage, he came up to us sousaphones and jokingly asked if we didn't get hernias carrying them. He helped many of us get over being, quote, starstruck by revealing his engaging personality and showing a genuine interest in why we were there. The rehearsal went well, as some of the band, sousaphones and bass drum in particular, had to negotiate their way on, off, and around the stage gingerly to avoid doing damage to the mirrors lining the set and at the stage entrances. We then settled into our area in the depths of the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion to wait for the show to begin. We were told, while waiting, that they had taped the dress rehearsal and would air that while we performed for the live performance. There was some disappointment, even as we breathed the collective sigh of relief at knowing we now only had to worry about doing our best for the live audience and not for the millions watching on television. The broadcast began, but we were not scheduled to appear until fairly late in the show. This allowed us plenty of time to get nervous. We had no delusions about the chances our song had for winning the Academy Award. After all, it was from a less than memorable Disney film starring Dick Van Dyke about a flying car. One of our competitors, Jose Feliciano, was waiting in the same area. He was to sing The Windmills of Your Mind, composed by Michel Legrand, for the Thomas Crown Affair. It dearly deserved to win, and it did. The moment arrived, we were called to the stage, and the routine went perfectly. It was not until we returned to the basement waiting area that we were told the show had in fact been aired live. We had been told earlier they would play the tape so we wouldn't get too nervous. Thrilled we had acquitted ourselves so well, we put our instruments back under the bus and climbed on board for the trip home. Traffic after the show was terrible, of course, so we had to sit, waiting for a chance to pull away from the curb. As we sat there, a large black limo pulled up next to us, stopped, and the passenger in the back seat rolled down the window. We had our windows down and saw the unmistakable bald head of Yul Brynner appear. He asked who we were, since the bus had no signage, so we told him we were the UCLA marching band. He requested a song, and we had to explain all of our instruments were in the bus storage compartments. He asked us to sing something in that case, so we offered up a heartfelt, a cappella harmonized version of Hail to the Hills of Westwood. Mr. Brynner applauded, and his limo drove off. It was a perfect ending to an unforgettable experience I never would have known had I not been a member of the UCLA marching band. In 2019, several band members recalled the experience in the UCLA alumni newsletter. Willis Masonheimer, class of '69. 50 years, that's mind-blowing. Wayne Adachi, class of '71. Director of bands Clarence Sawhill said at one of the practices, "Anybody who wants to play for the Academy Awards, show up Tuesday night in Pauley Pavilion." Ken Meyer, class of '70. We did rehearse at Pauley Pavilion a week or two before the event, and the director/choreographer of that particular segment was Gower Champion, a very famous choreographer. Adachi. We practiced a couple more times with Paula Kelly, who was the dancer for that number. Masonheimer. I had lots of conversations with Paula Kelly, because part of the routine was where she backed up. She started doing, it looked like the backstroke, and she backed her way all through the band, and everybody got out of the way until she got to me. And then she intentionally backed into me. We had to work on that a lot. She was great. She apologized any time the slightest thing went awry. She was worried that she was going to hurt me. But I could see her coming. Meyer. At the time, they had it at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in downtown LA. Arnold, Gross, class of '70, J.D., class of '73. We were bused from campus to a side entrance of the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, I believe, on Grand. Masonheimer. We came in uniform. You know, bands are sort of used to changing clothes wherever you can. And the idea of changing clothes on the bus is pretty common. Gross. At that time, the band was all male. Indeed, females didn't join the marching band until 1972, and that was because of the Title IX suit that was brought. Meyer. When we did the run-through in the Dorothy Chandler, looking out at the seating area, most of the seats had names of people on them. Adachi. You just sit in the back and wait all the time. Gross. It was a behind-the-scenes viewing. It was people shuffling on and off. Adachi. Don Rickles was back there. He was probably the rudest comedian that Hollywood ever had. We got to sit down and talk with him. Slim Pickens, he was back there. He did a lot of cowboy shows. He was the bad guy in Blazing Saddles. Masonheimer. It was very calm and very professional. I remember standing next to the two actors who were about to go out and model the costumes for Romeo and Juliet. We were chatting. They were just hired to model the costumes. Meyer. It was thrilling to be there. Gross. I went to Beverly Hills High School, and the graduating class the year before me was Richard Dreyfuss and Rob Reiner and Joey Bishop's son Larry Bishop. So being around celebrities was not an unusual circumstance. Masonheimer. I was more interested in the stage manager and the lighting director because they were busy. They were standing at their consoles and calling the shots. Everyone was very precise and relaxed. It was like a clock backstage. Meyer. At the time, I didn't know that we were introduced by Sidney Poitier and Ingrid Bergman. Masonheimer. It started with just the trumpet players playing the melody unaccompanied, and I remember thinking, gosh, I hope it's loud enough. There was a moment when nobody knew what we were doing. Adachi. I played trombone. Masonheimer. I was playing sousaphone in the back row. Meyer. I'm a percussionist, and normally I played snare drum. They picked me to play crash cymbals, because there's a part where I crashed the cymbals kind of in her face. That was pretty cool. Our song, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, did not win. It was Windmills of Your Mind, a now very famous song by Michel Legrand that was, really a better song. Adachi. I could always say that I played for Henry Mancini. He was the music director for the Academy Awards. Gross. No Academy Awards parties, no governor's ball, nothing like that. Meyer. After we did our performance, we were excited and thought, oh boy, we get to hang out here and have some fun and meet these people. That didn't happen. We didn't have time to bask in the glow. They took us back to campus. So I watched the rest of the evening in the dorm. It was surreal that I was part of that show, and now here I am watching it. At that time, they didn't repeat things. Nobody could record things. Gross. It was very exciting. For a college student to be part of an international televised spectacle like that was amazing. There was palpable excitement among everybody. Meyer. It was part of something bigger than we were as a person or a group. Portable amplifiers, 1969. At the 1969 Cal game, all 144 members of the band tested the portable Audiodyne 360 sound system, a transportable sound amplifier, becoming the first band to do so at a nationally televised football game. Band members carried battery-powered amplifiers on their backs, which had a microphone leading to instruments' bells. The amplifier's press release claimed that the device weighed a mere 8 pounds, though the Daily Bruin estimated that number to be closer to 20. In any case, the purpose of the device was to allow the band to be heard anywhere in the stadium by utilizing 360-degree sound. This meant that even if the band was turned away from a particular section of the stadium, spectators would be able to hear the ensemble as though they were directly in front of it, regardless of where they were seated. Additionally, this meant that the band could hear itself play as an ensemble, rather than only hearing those instruments in immediate proximity. Band Bulletin and the Note. Beginning in 1969, members of the Psi chapter of Kappa Kappa Psi, the band's honorary service fraternity, issued a publication entitled The Band Bulletin. The Band Bulletin offered band stories and news concerning the band's intramural teams, on-campus concerts, and Kappa Kappa Psi. In 1974, the first volume of the band's circulated newsletter, The Note, was printed, replacing the Band Bulletin. To this day, The Note continues as a band tradition, distributed on buses on game day. Although the present-day version of The Note is only published during the fall, in years past, The Note had winter and spring editions. Written and edited by band members, The Note promotes unity among the ensemble by providing members a way to openly communicate with each other and become well acquainted. The initial volumes of The Note were more serious in tone than today's publication, detailing upcoming gigs, band events, intramural sports results, and details on UCLA's football opponents. The Note also offered news on Kappa Kappa Psi and Tau Beta Sigma events, as well as reminders of upcoming wind ensemble or symphonic band concerts. As the years progressed, however, The Note became more personal. For instance, the 1976 edition featured a section called Band Personalities, which highlighted individual band members' interests and hobbies. A section entitled Thanks for the Memories, written by Ed Young, recapped the band's most memorable events for the year. In 1977, the band welcomed 80 new members, prompting the Note's editors to redefine the newsletter's mission. Eric Rosenbaum wrote, "The Note is very important this year. Its purpose is to provide a link between the many small groups within the band. We are too big for everyone to always know what is happening with everyone else in the band." In each issue, there will be an article on the doings of the staff as a whole and each of the various departments within the staff. Articles on the doings of the band's own service fraternity and sorority. A reflection of the thoughts and impressions of the band as we mature and progress through the year. Volumes from the 1980s signaled a further change in tone, as the publication featured off-the-wall stories written by the editors as well as puzzles and trivia games to make bus rides more entertaining. Band members also submitted material, such as Ken Wilton's piece, What I Did During the Bay Area Trip, or How I Got Out of Rehearsal This Week. Band members also submitted personals in which they addressed each other with greetings or inside jokes. Although the Note was intended to be read, band members have often had other uses in mind for the publication. The Note has been known to be thrown on bus rides, as band members crumple the newsletter and hurl it at each other. Best City Band in 1970. Musician Herb Alpert, William Foster of Florida A&M University, and John Wakefield of the University of Maryland declared the band as the city's best band at the 1970 USC vs. UCLA football game as part of a college band contest sponsored by Chevrolet. Bands that performed at each ABC Game of the Week were judged by celebrity musicians and prominent college band directors throughout the 1970 college football season. Band members joined Michigan Band at 1970 Rose Bowl. At the 1970 Rose Bowl, which pitted the University of Michigan against the University of Southern California, 20 members of the UCLA Band assisted the Michigan Band with its halftime show. As the Michigan Band held an evening rehearsal at UCLA a few days before the game, UCLA Band members received their task from renowned director of bands William Ravelli, which was to unfurl a prop during the Rose Bowl halftime show. A humorous recap of the event was printed in the band's publication The Band Bulletin in 1970, which detailed band members' impressions of Ravelli. We marched out with our prop and unfurled it beautifully at the rehearsal, but Ravelli didn't know what to say. So we suggested that we march out and step and rehearse no more since we had the show down pat after one run-through. Aren't we talented? So Ravelli took our suggestion and had us rehearse it twice more so he could learn something. Remember, you read it here first. Participating in the 1970 Rose Bowl also meant that the 20 Bruin volunteers received free admission to the Rose Bowl. As band members recalled, we tried to out-yell the whole Michigan rooting section, but we fell a bit short. But no matter how bad the seats or timing, we were on TV and did our thing beautifully with class, remembering who we were. The high point of the game was whenever the MU yell leaders did their gymnastics routine. At least they did something to keep us entertained, if not happy. Naturally, we left right after the half so that we could rush back to our TV sets to catch the all-important last 3 minutes on TV. When the Michigan Band left Los Angeles after the Rose Bowl, they took fond memories of the Bruin Classic and Disneyland, the taste of defeat, the smell of smog, and the sound of UCLA's enchanting gross cadence. Stand Up Arnie, Terry or Tony Goodrum, our dirty old drummer, exchanged nuances like that with the Wolverines. Wind Ensemble's tour of Mexico in 1970. In December 1969, Clarence Sawhill told the Daily Bruin, as part of the 50th anniversary celebration at UCLA, the concert band will tour Mexico in March or April of 1970. The trip, scheduled for April 26 to April 30th, was the band's second international tour. The band arrived in Mexico City on Sunday, April 26th. After a light show at the Teotihuacan Pyramids, the band performed at the Ibero-American University at 8:30 p.m. on Monday, April 27th. It then boarded a flight to Guadalajara on Tuesday, April 28th, and performed a concert at the Degollado Theater the following evening. At this concert, the band performed the national anthems of both Mexico and the United States, and featured the trombone ensemble, directed by Paul Tanner, on Old Man River. The band's tour program highlighted several quotes from various North American band directors praising the group. Wayman E. Walker, director of bands at Colorado State College, stated, "It was a true honor and pleasure to have directed one of the best bands in the country." Lieutenant Colonel Samuel R. Loboda from the U.S. Army Band highlighted the group's musicality. "Your artistic faculties, your musical sensibility and flexibility demonstrated by you in response to the requirements of each director were a tribute to your excellent individual training and your fine preparation which form a supreme ensemble." 1970's tour of Mexico represented one of the many fine international performances given by the band. Clarinet player Sarah Solberg, class of '75, recalled her experiences on the band's tour of Mexico. "Our first and only full day in Mexico City, we visited the Plaza of the Three Cultures, enjoyed a private tour of Teotihuacan's pyramids, and gourmandized on a 7-course meal at the embassy. All this preceded 3 full-length concerts in various parts of the city. Next morning, we were off to Guadalajara, another concert, and assigning to housing with Mexican families." Solberg went on to recount how the band had an unexpected extended stay in Mexico. "At our dress rehearsal for our big concert in the neoclassical Degollado Theater, when Clarence Sawhill finished polishing pieces for our biggest concert, Kelly James announced that that morning a Mexicana airplane had left for Los Angeles nearly empty. Our reservations had become confused by the airline, and we were stuck in Guadalajara for another few days. As our schedule had been so jam-packed with activity, few of us were disappointed by the opportunity to further explore the city." The development of the jazz ensemble under Gary Gray. In 1970, UCLA's jazz ensemble was created under the direction of Gary Gray. After earning his bachelor's and master's degrees in music from Indiana University, Gray was the recipient of the 1967 Frank Sinatra Musical Performance Award and was also awarded a solo performance with the San Francisco Symphony after placing first in the San Francisco Symphony Foundation competition. At UCLA, Gray taught classes in clarinet, saxophone, and woodwind techniques. The jazz ensemble typically consisted of 20 to 30 instruments and included saxophones, trumpets, trombones, a French horn, electric guitar and bass, piano, and drums. The Corvallis Expedition. 42 members of the band traveled to Oregon State University by plane and bus in September 1970. It flew to San Francisco on Thursday, September 10th, and then boarded Greyhound buses for a 12-hour ride into Oregon. The Bruins won the game 14-9. The band bulletin recalled a memory of a band member snatching a special souvenir as the band returned home. The band spotted a flag of Corvallis, so prodded by the busman bandsman, "We bagged the flag, wow!" The dominant West Coast band. When Clarence Sawhill first arrived at UCLA in 1952, the entire band program, including the concert and marching bands, consisted of 66 members. Looking back on his time at UCLA, Sawhill stated in 1968, "In 1952, when I first came to UCLA, the band program was either disorganized or non-existent. But today, the whole band program cohesively focuses on serving the school and students." By 1969, the band program had grown to 250 members. Sawhill, aware of the immense growth, stated, "From a 66-member marching concert utility band to a 250-plus all-encompassing band program, that's the story of the band department over the past 18 years." Evaluating the band's progress, Sawhill warmly observed, "The UCLA Concert Band is one of the outstanding musical organizations on the West Coast." By 1976, the band had appeared on the Academy Awards, completed international tours of Europe and Mexico, and performed at 10 NCAA basketball title game victories and 7 Rose Bowl games. The Hoop called the UCLA band in 1976 the most exposed band in history, having performed before an audience of over 200 million. The varsity band expands. In 1960, 24 musicians comprised the varsity band, many of whom were also in the marching band. As the basketball program's prestige increased with Coach John Wooden's unprecedented run of NCAA championships, the varsity band grew steadily, reaching 120 members by 1971. Band member John Hayes remembered the varsity band's enthusiasm for performing at games coached by Wooden. During the Wooden years here, there was never any problem getting as many good players as you wanted in the basketball band, because the basketball band took up a whole section and a half of those bleachers in Pauley. In 1960, the varsity band played a wide range of musical styles and composers, from Handel and Bach to Meredith Willson and Stan Kenton. Kelly James, with the help of students, arranged the group's music. Trumpet player Bill Peterson recollected his experiences with the varsity band, especially noting the arrangements of the band's stands tunes. "We played for basketball games, and that was when Kelly used to write as wild as he could, and got other guys who wanted to write whatever they wanted. I remember I looked at the part, and it went up to a couple of double A's above high C, and I said, 'Geez, Kelly, there's not too many guys in this town that are working can play this, but I knew I could, so I did it.'" He stopped the band afterwards and he said, "There's only a few guys in this town that can play that. Bill Peterson just did it twice." As Daily Bruin writer Howard Posner wrote in January 1975 on the eve of the Bruins' 10th basketball championship, "The varsity band is almost as much an institution at basketball games as is the team. The primary reason is exposure. After 9 national championships, much of the basketball publicity spills over to the band, spirit squads, and other adjunct organizations. The varsity band's repertoire consisted of over 570 tunes by 1976, so in order to quickly call a tune during a game, James prompted the band with directions referencing pages in the music book. For instance, the instruction 2-3-1 bottom would translate to the song on the bottom of page 231. During this period, the band traditionally played "I Ain't Down Yet" from the unspeakable Molly Brown when the men's basketball team ran out onto the court, and Rover after a victory. The varsity band traveled to men's basketball games in the Bay Area and accompanied the team to NCAA regional and national championship games. Due to financial and spatial constraints, the varsity band did not travel with all 120 members. Yet, band members who were not selected to travel often found their own travel arrangements to tournament games in order to play with the band. Remembering the 1971 NCAA tournament Larry Triplett, trumpet/trombone 1965 to 1972. Band alumnus Larry Triplett, class of '72, recalled the thrill of traveling with the varsity band during the 1971 tournament. In 1971, we were confident enough to schedule a continuous tour from LA to Salt Lake City to Houston for the regionals and finals. The tour included some stops to perform concerts at high schools. Houston seemed further than we thought, though, and it was 2 a.m. one night as we approached Amarillo. We began to sing through the songs in our band book, to the words, "Amarillo. How funny was it? Well, you had to be there. But those who were haven't forgotten. Oh yes, we won it all in Houston." Dr. Sawhill retires. Clarence Sawhill retired in 1972 after serving as UCLA's director of bands for 20 years. Under Dr. Sawhill's direction, the band gained international recognition for both its musicality and marching excellence. During the 1971-72 season alone, the bands under Sawhill had made 53 appearances and performed live for more than 792,875 people, excluding radio and television performances. Sawhill conducted his final concert in Royce Hall on May 17, 1972, with several of his close friends and former students in attendance. Sawhill chose a program that included some of his favorite musical compositions, including Bach's Fantasia in G major, Strauss's Ein Heldenleben, and Sousa's Manhattan Beach, El Capitan, and Stars and Stripes Forever. The band banquet held on May 27, 1972 at the Miramar Hotel in Santa Monica served as Sawhill's retirement banquet. The trombone choir, led by Paul Tanner, and the men's glee club, led by Don Weiss, performed at the event. Sawhill continued to be a clinician and guest conductor in the ensuing years. Clarence Sawhill died on February 26, 1982,